कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां भावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिव गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नतमतो वाचा गंगायते यत् कृपा तमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरु दीनतारिणीम्। Hare Krishna. So, the devotees, as soon as one understands relationship with Krishna, realizes a universal brotherhood through which he will treat all men, women, animals, indeed all life itself. He sees that they are all parts and parcels of the law of Krishna. When one feels, when one feels like this, then genuine compassion invokes into one's consciousness. So, whose statements are these? These are the statements of those personalities whose life is this. Srila Prabhupada, he did everything for his spiritual master. He had no personal motive in his life. He was not looking for any name, any fame, or any profit or donation. He's simply trying to preach. No question why this bhakti process is so vital. Why one should develop this kind of Krishna consciousness in one's life. Why don't we just lead our life in this world? We are happy in this world. Why Krishna consciousness? Actually, this is a general question which has been asked by everyone in this world. Every person in this world is looking for something superior for in which situation he is right now. For example, if you see a farmer has a son. Now the farmer, he has seen all the difficulties in his life while doing farming. So he wants his son to have a higher status than what he has. He at least wants his son to do farming in a better way, not the way or trouble he has taken. He may desire to, to have his son to become a better farmer, to have better standard, to have better tools. That is that is a natural thing for anyone in this world. Let's say a person is a government servant. His salary is very low. Now he has seen difficulties by taking that job. He has faced so many circumstances, situational issues. Now to his son, to his family members, to his daughter, he wants them to be in a better state. Don't we expect our children also to be in a better standard? For example, a devotee has a child. Now his devotion might not be that up to the mark. To the Lord, my dear Lord, whoever is coming in the association, or my family members, my friends, the devotees who come into shelter, come into the process of Krishna consciousness, who are taking the guidance of the spiritual master, who are surrendering to the words of the acharyas. Now they pray that yes, they should take this process much more seriously, much more sincerely. This is not the general way because the person need not understand big philosophy to come to this state. The person need not know, need not have written Bhakti Shastri or Bhakti Bible or Bhakti Sarvabhauma or Bhakti Vedanta. He did not, need not have to write this, all of this. But the general common tendency which is there in the soul is this. Now, I have gone through these difficulties. The other person should not go through that. Now, I went through those circumstances, the other person should not go through that. Or I went through difficulties in Krishna consciousness, the other person should not go through that. That means once my realization or once realization, taking up the science of Krishna consciousness, that should help the other person not go through those difficulties, rather he turn to the process of pure devotion service and then continuous life. Now this state comes because the Atma which is there in the heart, when that Atma takes association of the pure soul. So Prabhupada is mentioning here. A Vaishnava or a devotee of Krishna is an ocean of mercy to others. He gives the greatest gift to society in dire need of God consciousness. A Vaishnava bestows the priceless mercy or the gift of Mahamantra. Now, Srila Prabhupada is actually writing about his spiritual master. That his spiritual master gave him that. A pure soul gave or bestowed that mercy of Krishna consciousness. If you actually see, before meeting Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur or his father, because they both are very pure souls, or after meeting his father, Prabhupada still had some questions he was seeing around. He knows the science of Krishna consciousness. It is trying to see where I should submit myself. Because he's finding that source person. Because he's seeing so many people who, on the name of Krishna consciousness, they're not practicing. So he understands. So when his friend tells him, no, no, I'll take you to one sadhu, he's very sincere. Prabhupada says that, no, I cannot come. Because I've seen so many sadhus. I don't want to come. Because his picturization towards the sadhus is different up until he met the Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Because they are not honest to their heart. Because honesty is a primary principle in Krishna consciousness. Any person who wants to make some advancement in Krishna consciousness, he should understand the foremost primary aspect in devotion is the honesty. Now, why and how this honesty comes? By seeing a person who is actually honest. If you actually see those words, they are very honest words. Prabhupada was not saying, keeping something in his heart and then saying out something else. He was very straightforward to his friend. He told that I have seen sadhus, I cannot accept this situation because that is not my state or that is not my, because I don't want to spend time. But the moment that somehow he was convinced to take him, the moment he saw him, these are the words coming from his heart after seeing another pure soul in his life. Actually, when one sees those personalities in one's life, then what happens is the devotees is this dominant Krishna consciousness sitting in everyone's heart. Every jiva's heart, there is dominant Krishna consciousness. because that is a special gift Krishna. No, even though we are against him. Actually, every jiva in this world is against Krishna. Even though we are against him, see his creation, humongous creation. 8,400,000 species can survive in this creation. Just imagine, the species are 8,400,000. What kind of mentalities they would have? It's unimaginable. That means the consciousness levels which they would develop. If all those 8,400,000 species are combined, you see how much consciousness is. When this much consciousness is actually rebellious towards Krishna. That is, they don't want a relationship with Krishna. Any jiva in this world, they don't want a relationship with Krishna. Because every jiva in this world has envy sitting in his heart. Envy sitting in his heart means this jiva has a rebellious nature with the Supreme Lord. That means when I have envy towards the other jiva, it's a very clear indication. It's not the problem of the jiva, it is the problem of the person who's actually feeling that enmity to the other person. It is not that envy is actually killing the other person. No, no, the enemy is actually killing ourselves. That means the Atma, the soul which is there in the heart, the soul cannot come to that natural state because the soul is carrying envy in its. That means what is the whole problem? When the problem of not understanding one's relationship with Krishna and not realizing the universal brotherhood which is actually there in our heart, in our consciousness, then that is actually giving trouble to the soul which is kept in a dormant state. That's why Krishna puts these good qualities in our consciousness. But right now, those good qualities are hidden. But when those good qualities, when those good qualities they come or manifest out, a meeting of ocean, by me seeing the presence of our acharyas. This is what exactly Prabhupada is mentioned. A Vaishnava, a devotee of Krishna, is the ocean of mercy to others. Why is the ocean of mercy to others? Because through that association, what is happening is the dormant Krishna consciousness, which is actually sitting in every jiva's heart, is awakened. That means we will actually see. Yesterday, a beautiful question. The question is, I have a desire to eat something. When I prepare that preparation through that desire of eating, is that correct or not? Actually, these questions of checking one's heart, these questions of seeing one's presence through those questions, actually, this is the most important thing in Krishna consciousness. Actually, this is bhakti. That means when the Shravana goes into one's consciousness, into one's heart, and when one begins to think about that, which went into the heart, and then the question which come out through that thinking process or the process of churning, which is smarana, and then through that smarana you get those questions because there is a state of varana which is acceptance. Only after acceptance one will come to the state of smarana. If one is convinced that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, no doubt you might not have even seen Krishna face to face. We have not seen Krishna face to face. It's like Arjuna has seen Krishna. We might not have seen. But the thing is, when we put faith on the words of the Acharyas and then when we are convinced that he is my master, this is the state of Varana. That Krishna is my everything. Acharyas are everything in my life. If I follow the words of my spiritual master, then that is the essence in my life. If the sadhaka is convinced with this, then he'll come to the next stage of Smarana. And what that Smarana is, the Smarana, the Sravana which goes into the heart and then it does churning. So the process of churning Based on our situational and our association, we get some questions. Pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. The second stage, first stage is to pranipatena. That means very actively developing relationship with the person who is speaking. Through that relationship, when we hear, then pariprashna will come. So through that pariprashna, that questions has been asked. When we begin to hear or understand those answers and then apply, then we see transformation in our heart. Okay. When we don't apply those answers into one's life, then what happens? The transformation will not happen. And the transformation that doesn't happen means again pranipatena goes to pranipatena. Again pariprashna come. Again, if the pariprashna is not applied, again it goes to pranipatena. That means the seva is not established until and unless the pariprashna is fully convinced. That means the sadhaka has to be fully convinced through his faith that this is my everything, that this Krishna consciousness is my everything. Unless and until the sadhaka comes to that state, his service factor is affected. That means what is the service which he is doing without pranipadana pariprashnana? That the service which he is doing is not a full-fledged service. Because that service is not through surrender. That service is not through complete submission. Service, that's what Prabhupada is mentioning here, right? Let me tell you. One should not think, however, that this state is simply a state of trance. What is the state of trance? Just simply chanting Hare Krishna. One should not think that this is everything. Whereby one remains seated in the lotus position or corner for days on end. No, liberation means serving. What is that liberation? Liberation means serving. One cannot simply say that now I have dedicated my life to Krishna. Let me remain seated. The standard of surrender must be maintained by Nisevaya. Nisevaya means serving. That Sevaya comes when the sadhaka is fully convinced, when is taking the pure soul's association very nicely. If that pure soul's association is not being taken, if when we don't take the association or the spiritual master of our acharyas very nicely, then what happens is that what is the service factor remains. The service factor remains in a dormant state. That means when we don't serve them, then the truth which they are giving is they are perceiving into our consciousness, they don't stay. I remember my spiritual master telling when Shravana is there, Kirtana has to come. When the Shravana is intensified, if it is not going to the state of Kirtana, that Shravana will go somewhere else. That means it has to be the Kirtana part which comes after the Shravana is actually the watering the root of the Bhaktilata beach. Please understand. This is exactly watering the root of the Bhaktilata beach. If this watering of the root of the Bhaktilata beach is not being done, then what happens is the Shravana will remain Shravana. The Shravana cannot give us taste. The Shravana will stay, but it will stay in another dormant state. It will not invoke the presence of the soul which is there in there. Because the natural state of the soul, which we discussed at the beginning of the session. I have this state. My friends or my children should have a better state. Now, how many people in this world are thinking like that? Not many would think, but definitely most of the numbers would think like that. Whoever is feeling a relationship with another person, they would definitely think about that. Why? Because that is a natural state of the soul. Now, further, he doesn't need to understand so many things, but that is one of the quality. That means I don't have this, you should have this in a better way. Just like Srila Prabhupada, if you see, when you fast forward the same thing again, see, every soul is in a different state. Now, one soul who's sitting far away in somewhere in Wisconsin, he is a child. He went through so many difficulties. He wants to see that his son doesn't go through this difficulties. Likewise, Srila Prabhupada, when we fast forward, let me see the different stages of the soul. Srila Prabhupada, another exalted Vaishnava Acharya. Now that person, when he would take the science of Krishna consciousness, he for 40, 50 years couldn't change or couldn't give this Krishna consciousness. But did he give it up? No. But when he began giving it, was he also expecting his disciples to do the exact same thing which he did for 40, 50 years? No. He said, you go, I gave everything, I gave you Krishna consciousness, you give this Krishna consciousness to others. And then the moment he started blessing them, those disciples didn't have to wait for 40, 50 years to give what Srila Prabhupada had given. That means through the prayers of the bestow, the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, those devotees, they instantly went to London, they instantly went to different parts of the world. Then they started establishing this Krishna consciousness very nicely. Where it had to wait for 40, 50 years. This is a mercy of the Acharyas. Because dear devotees, you don't have to wait for those many years. We can submit today. We can take this science sincerely today itself. All we need to understand the presence of the Lord. What is He doing? How is He doing? Hmm? Since how long has He be waiting for us? Actually, in a way, we are with Him only. In a way, we are with Him. We are without Him. The way we see our consciousness, the moment we remember the Lord, we are with Him. The moment we remember His material nature, we are not with Him. Not with Him is also being with Him. Because the moment we don't remember Him, that is also we remembering, we are staying through His energy. That is also part of His creation. Through that way also we are with Him. But the Lord doesn't want that way of being with Him. The Lord wants to be with Him the way He wants to be with us. That is developing that universal brotherlyhood. That is to develop that consciousness of being non-envious to every Jew. So to that question, it's a very interesting question. Should I make that preparation or not? I have a desire to it. Is that devotion or not? I really want to do that. But is it bhakti or not? I have a desire to eat that preparation. Now I offer every day. So I'm offering this also to the Lord. Is it pleasing the Lord? Because Lord is also sitting in my heart. He also understands that I'm just making this preparation for my own enjoyment. Will Lord be happy with that? Every day I was preparing for His happiness, but today all of a sudden I wanted to eat this. Today, all of a sudden, I wanted to eat this. And then this eating all of a sudden, which came through my consciousness, is that pleasing the Lord? I'll tell you here an important aspect. Krishna consciousness doesn't mean rules. Please understand. It's very important. Bhakti is not rules. That means, don't we follow the rules? No, no. I'm not saying that we shouldn't follow the rules. I'm saying bhakti is not rules. So, dear devotees, let me tell you an example through which we can understand really what Lord and our acharyas are expecting from us. Let's say there's a mother and she has a child. The mother would go to Reliance Market In India, we have Reliance Market, or the mother would go to some farmers market in the town, where through that farmers market, she's trying to get some vegetables. Now, she has so many vegetables there in the market. But she loves her son so much. Very, very intimate. That means her son is everything for her. She doesn't have anyone in her life. No husband, no daughter, no family member support. No, none of those things. She just has a son. And even she does a simple job just to maintain herself and her son. Okay. That means whatever she's doing, it's doing for her son. She's going to a government job, small government job. She'll get some salary. She has a rental home. Her son goes to good school. That means if you actually see, she's living for her son only. She's no one else in her life. Everything is cut off. She only has son. That means she's going to office, she's earning, she has a rental home, she's maintaining, she has a son which goes to the school, good school. She has to pay the, she has to take care of son's expenses, everything. Everything she's doing. She cannot live without her son. Oh, this is the state of this India. Okay. When that mother has that state, when the mother goes to the market with that state of consciousness, a young boy around her age, by the way, she's not that old, she's like 35 or so, a boy around, or a man that gets old. Do you think that her consciousness will go to that? Do you think that she will try to think about her enjoyment during her state of consciousness, which is completely fixed on her son? Because her life and soul, everything is her son. Do you ever think that she will actually see or turn towards that man who's actually going in the street? She would never ever do that. She might not know anything. She might not know the scripture. She might not have read. She might not have read anything. She might not have known anything. But she would ever turn her consciousness to that, or she would ever turn to that particular person, asking his number. What do you do? Do you have some free time? Can we talk? Do you think she will do that? Never do that. Why? Because she's so much absorbed into her. This might look like a material example, no, but it is not, dear devotees. But if you actually see, she's fully focused in that particular person only. And when she goes to the market, she will pick those vegetables which are suitable to his son, which his son would eat. Right? She doesn't have any other business. Wherever she goes, that is what she's doing. Do we see any distractions in her consciousness? And she's not Krishna conscious also. But see the intensity of the relationship which is actually there. Even in this material world, there are pure relationships. Mother-son relationship, very pure relationship. Actually, Papa says, in the material world, a tinge of spiritual world relationship is actually pursued through the relationship of mother and son. Papa writes this. That means the spiritual world, some example of tinge of relationship which we pursue here is mother-son relationship. Yeah. Because through that relationship, none of the other things are dissipated. Everything is given. Very nice. Why I told this example is, dear devotees, When we begin to talk about rules in Krishna consciousness, or some principles in Krishna consciousness, when we begin to talk about them, then we understand the gravity in the process, stating that, oh, if the mother's absorption is towards the son, she's not seeing any external problem. Actually, she has so many problems in her life. No husband, no protection, no shelter. So many things are there in her life. But none of these things are affecting us because she's only seeing her relationship with her son. Because she's just living her life. Otherwise, she would die. If she didn't have that son, she would die. She has no purpose to live also. But she is living just to ensure that her son grows nicely. That means she's giving importance to that relationship, which is very important in our life. Likewise, what is when we actually keep Krishna in that place where the mother is keeping her son, Krishna and his representative. When we keep them in that situation, we don't ever think about ourselves. Please understand this. That means we don't get those desires also. When our absorption is more towards Krishna consciousness, when our absorption is more towards Shavana, Kirtana, when our absorption is more towards what can I do, how do I spend my time, when our absorption is more towards that, we are continuously thinking about that person. I want to please them. I want to please my spiritual master. I want to please Shiva Prabhupada. I want to please Krishna. I want to remember the Yat Karosi, the Snasi, Jubosi, the Dasi. That means you're actually keeping, just like that mother has kept her son in her consciousness. She might be facing a lot of troubles because if a woman is alone, a lot of men will scratch her. This world is place of exploitation. The woman cannot be alone. If she's alone, a lot of people will scratch. But she's not affected with all those scratches because her focus is what? यहाँ से आदमी का बोलते रहते हैं कोरोना में. How do I see my child is fit? Likewise, Jared, what is our focus is on towards Krishna, is on towards the words of Srila Prabhupada, is on the words towards what our spiritual master is actually giving us. When we develop the deepest relationship with them, then we don't have our own thing here. Actually, in the life of Srila Prabhupada, we would never see that. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, when the relationship is intensified so much, then our so-called desires, they remain very futile. We don't feel. For example, let's take that example. Okay, what should I do if that desire comes? Then you intensely pray to the Lord. My dear Lord, this is my state. This is my state. You know what I am. You know what I am. Please help me. Let me do this offering. You see, these are my things which I have. See, Krishna is our father, right? When Krishna, for he knows who we are, he will help in every situation. Through that situation, he'll send those Vaishnavas and then help us to come out of those situations just like that. Then he says, don't worry, you offer. Then after that, you eat, you be happy, satisfied. You remember me. Slowly develop relationship with me. Just like the mother is developing the relationship for the child. Just as you develop the relationship for me, for the acharyas, for the sacrifices which they have taken, for the association of the spiritual teacher, develop relationship with them. When that relationship is intensified, I am telling you, those desires will not come back. If those desires will come here and there, but they'll be here and there. It will not be continuous. And that will be minimized very much. Because what is happening is, where are we working? We are working not on our problems. Please understand. We are not working on our problems, but we are working on a relationship which is far superior than our problems. Because why we are here? Due to lack of relationship. That means we want to enjoy in separation of the Lord. That's why we are here. Now, what are we doing? We are trying to re-establish that relationship. How are we doing that? We are trying to re-establish that relationship through Shravana, hearing process, through Varana, accepting process, through Smarana. After accepting, remembering about them. And then actually working through them. When we do this, what happens in devotees? Without our without our so-called austerity, without our so-called process, we will come out of this. Please understand this, dear viewers. Bhakti is a very potent process. Also, Prabhupada is mentioning here. Somehow, it's very interesting data what is. I I just opened right before our discussion this page. This is it's a book called Matchless Gift. I opened the random page. It's page number 88. And then I started reading. It's so interesting that to the question what Asha Mataji was asking, Prabhupada was giving answers to that. That means when a devotee has a desire to really take the science of Krishna consciousness, the presence of our acharyas are invoked. Actually, I didn't open this book for that question also. I just wanted to read for a couple of minutes. And then I opened up. And then I found that I need to read this. I got that inspiration that I need to read this. Read what is bhakti is a very personal process. You get a lot of realizations when you feel that this person is my father. He's a father. Prabhupada is actually sitting in the back. He's a father. The spiritual master is sitting in the front. He's a father. Because what are they? They give us the real guidance. They give us the real shelter. Because they are the life soul for us. Because they don't, if at all you want to have some juice in Krishna consciousness, that means some active momentum has to be there. Just like if you don't change the oil regularly in the car, if you don't maintain the car properly, then even though if you purchase big cars, still you'll have problems. Likewise, if you are connected or introduced to the science of Krishna consciousness, but if you are not connected to genuine association on a daily basis, then what happens is our process will diminish. We don't feel that chanting. But when you hear or continue this process on a regular, on a daily basis, then what happens, dear devotees? You will get those reflections into your heart. And then through the reflections, what happens is slowly but steadily you'll make immense progress in Krishna consciousness. Because Prabhupada gave this process. Nashta prayasa bhadreshu nityam bhavavatase. This Prabhupada words are life and soul for us. I remember a spiritual master telling, oh, you don't have to create anything new. You just have to follow. You just have to follow what I'm saying. I'm saying is what Srila Prabhupada said. Well, whatever I say is none different than what is. Because he says that I have that much intimate relationship with the person. So, dear devotees, those are all difficult situations. That Mataji, she's alone. She's facing difficult situations. A lot of boys are scratching. thinking that I can use her so many means. But she was not bewildered for all of those things. Why? Because her focus is somewhere else. She's not bothered also with all those problems which she's facing. Because her focus is to ensure that her child is taken care. Likewise, if our focus is on the words of the spiritual master, the words of the acharyas, the words of the Lord. Words of the Lord means Gita. Gita is what? Gita is the song of the Lord. When we are focusing on this, then so-called problems of this world will not trouble us. Oh, this person is putting me down, that person is putting me down. Oh, he's not good to me, she is not good to me. Why? There's no problem actually. This person is not good to me, that is good for me. Actually, through my karmic reaction, that person has to trouble me so much, but he's troubling me only a little. Actually, through this trouble, I am remembering the Lord. That is the greatest thing. That means I am grateful to that person because through his presence, I'm remembering the Lord. That means, do we have envy to that person? We don't have envy to that person. Rather, we'll be grateful to that person. That means what is happening when the focus is tilted, when the focus is tilted from us to that relationship with the Lord through the Acharya. So the focus is tilted to that side. Dear, what is happening? Complete transformation. Earlier, we were envious to that person because that person is trying to put us down. But now we are grateful to that person. Please understand. Envy, gratitude, two contrasting things. But they're happening. Envy is coming because absorption is on us. Because he has done that to me. He has done this to me. Because envy is intensifying the more we think about ourselves. Please understand. Because the more we begin to think about ourselves, it's the external energy. Just like we're thinking about ourselves for that preparation. That's okay. It's not a big problem, but today it will come through eating. Tomorrow it will come through something else. It will not stop there. Because when the absorption is not towards Guru Sadhu Shastra, when the absorption is towards us, then what is happening is these anarthas will dance. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Vatsa. These anarthas will dance. When these anarthas are dancing, then we feel so much enmity to the other persons. Actually, yesterday we were discussing about this. I'll tell this. It's very interesting. Dear devotees, who doesn't have affection to their hair? When Marsha Srila Prabhupada, we don't have. Because Prabhupada says you shave off your head. So it's we are very fortunate. So if somebody has any attachment to their hair, then we see a lot of problems also come through here. I'll tell you some. Some people don't get married because that person is bald headed. Or some people, uh, even devotees. I remember my spiritual master recently telling us that one devotee doesn't want to marry the other devotee because the other devotee has bald head. And she gave a condition that if he does hair transplantation, then she'll get married to him. Then this devotee, the devotee who's taking care of this Mataji and that Prabhu, he called my spiritual master and then he was telling this thing to my spiritual master. That this is a situation about this devotee. Prabhu, Arey, don't speak about that because she never understood what devotion is. She never understood what devotion is. That means she's getting married to that person only if he does hair transplantation. What is that? That means how much bodily absorption it is. That means she never understood what the science of Krishna consciousness is. Now we'll keep that one thing aside. I wanted to tell something else on this. So, dear devotees, when we leave this body, where do they put fire? To the head. That's per our culture. As per our culture, the elder son will, will put the fire to the father at the head. The youngest son will put the fire to the mother at the head. What do we have at the head? Hair. You know how much time it will take to burn off that hair? This much fraction. Couple of seconds. Arey, to burn off the hair for a couple of seconds, why do we invest so much time on that? Because this hair is burnt off in a couple of seconds. And I've seen relationships shattered just for this hair. I have begun to think about this. Is this not the greatest illusion in this world? We are not that, but we think we are that. Well, that is the whole reason why we want to put hair dye to the hair. Because we think that we are that. We want to protect it. We want to put so much. I see so many people spending so much dollars on that hair. Maintain that hair. So many ways. Is it not unusual? It is. Because that is the first thing which is burnt off before the body begins to burn. Within a moment, the hair is gone. Now, for that so called hair, the so called thing of this world, are we so much attached to that? Please understand, this is how this world will put us into various traps. This is all called as traps. I'll tell another trap. Srila Prabhupada is mentioned in this trap today in his quote. When the mouse creates the hole and goes inside and then stays in that hole, the snake will perceive that there's a mouse in the hole. And then the snake will go into the hole. Because it's like a trap. The mouse cannot go anywhere else. The mouse is not that intelligent. But when the snake is coming, it will have another hole to come out. It doesn't have that technology. It has only the technology to go inside. Or it doesn't have a technology that when a predator is coming, it can come out. So the snake will go inside, have the feast, stay there. The snake is like the material nature. The mouse is the jiva. The mouse is the jiva in this world. The whole is our all our wealth in this world, all the assets in our so-called world, all our bank balances, this, that, so many other things in this world. That whole is like that. And then we nicely have all of those things. We are so happy with all of those things. Just like the mouse is very happy in that hole. Likewise, the jiva in this world is very happy. He's trying to think that this is the happiest place in this creation. And then without our knowing one day, the snake, the material nature will come, take away everything through darkness. Vichu Sarva Harasha. We don't know when that is. And before that, if we are not perfecting ourselves, then again we have to take this self. That means if we carry those material desires, still, we have still those attachments, just like the mouse has the attachment to that hole. Thinking that, oh, what's happening to me? The snake came, I cannot live, this is my children, this, that, so many other things. Again, it will get another body. That was the jiva. When the mrityu coming at the time of death, it will remember all of these senses. And then again, it will take another breath. And then continue this cycle again and again. See the whole, which is giving the answers to the whole. The HOLE whole is giving the answer to WHOLE whole. That whole is us. The Jiva who's there within that whole is us. The Jiva is actually struggling this materialism, striving to earn money, striving to do this, striving to do that, striving to get a job, striving to get this, get that, so many other things. It's very complicated state. Not getting job, not having a job, unable to get a job, unable to get this, unable to get that, so many other problems. But he's continuing, continuing his journey, continuing his way of seeing, of seeking the truth. Is that not a problem in this world? It is the problem. Hare, you know, I see some people they don't go to big parties because they don't have they're a little insecure to go outside because they don't have the air. Means, means, because we are there in this world, but we don't know what we are doing in this world. Is the most important thing. 1 second. So we don't know what we are doing in this world. So much absorb, so much bodily conception, is consciousness. The whole problem. So this thing is a greatest economy. I think I'll stop here. Anyone has any questions? Would like to add anything? Hasha Mataji, I hope your first question is addressed.
Hare Krishna,
You already-
Danvat Pranam. Yes, it's so much
1 second,
satisfying with
1 second. My voice is very low. 1 second, let me increase. Amma, please tell.
uh, Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranam.
Stop.
Yes, your answer make me satisfied. Yes. It's so much satisfaction. Yes. With your answer. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
I didn't cover your second question yet. But we'll see that later. Okay.
Yes, we can wait. Yes, Hare Krishna.
Anyone else would like to add? Yeah, devotees, when we begin chanting, when we begin hearing with this consciousness, definitely our relationship with the Supreme Father and his associates will be intensified. Just like the mother, she doesn't see anything else other than the well-being of her child. Likewise, wherever we are, we might be in Hyderabad, Ongole, America, it doesn't matter, wherever we are, irrespective of our situation, we are simply working to please the Krishna. That means we are not seeing the place, we're not seeing the external things, but rather we are seeing the internal consciousness, which is there behind anything, which is there behind everything. Actually, this is Krishna consciousness. Because consciously, you should remember their presence. Because when the relationship is developed, you'll think about him only. You'll not have any other business. You saw some money. You'll see, oh, how do I spend in the service of my Kana? How do I spend in the service of the Lord? How do I spend in the service of the Acharyas? You have some energy. You'll think, how do I spend this energy in the service of the Lord? You have children, maybe you have some friends. You'll see, how do I spend them in the service of the Lord? That means you're there with everyone. But your core idea is you'll see how all of them can be engaged. How I can be engaged. That's what it is. Because the whole idea is to please them, right? Because those personalities have given us this. Your Prabhupada is writing, right? I like this line very nicely. A Vaishnava bestows a priceless gift of the Mahamantra. Whatever. Because if Prabhupada and his devotees, and his followers, and his pure souls didn't come into our life, we didn't know anything. We wouldn't have known anything about Hare Krishna mantra. We should chant like this. We should do like this. We have no idea. That means it is they who actually bestow us. He says, right? Vaishnava bestows a priceless gift of Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. They bestow us. That means if we understand that relationship with them, then they're bestowing or giving to us something priceless. Then we feel that. That becomes devotion. That becomes bhakti. Hare. And look at it. Anyone else would like to add anything? Otherwise, we'll stop it here. Yes, Amma. Sheetalama, please tell.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And I really like to bring this point as you have mentioned that the Shravana is important, and with the Shravana, the Nam Jap will help in creating the confession. I I was like, it helps a lot. Like that, this thing means a very deep rooted thing which you have mentioned today, and it the this has like inspired me more in doing Nam Jap. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you. There's a devotee called Zoom user. What's his name? What's the Prabhu's name?
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. I am Shyam Prasad from India. Unfortunately, we are constructing a new house. Unfortunately, I got connection, Prabhuji. It is my. I am very very happy about hearing your speech, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Anyone else would like to add? Sure, Chino Bhattaji. Okay, there's a question here. Okay, Rachna Mataji asking a question. Hare Krishna, when Srila Prabhupada came to West, he changed all the conditioned souls around him. Did they change because of the mercy of Srila Prabhupada? Or they changed because of the faith in Srila Prabhupada Vani? Was it Guru Nishta? Actually, it is both. It is a mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Through that mercy, they got faith in his words. Through that faith, the Guru Nishta developed. Because if the person is not there, there is no question of Guru Nishta. That means that the answer is combined answer, not an independent answer. That means if Srila Prabhupada is not there, there is no question of developing faith. If Srila Prabhupada is not there, there is no question of Guru Nishta. So, as Srila Prabhupada came, through his mercy, the Guru Nishta came. Through that process, they took this process as they took this process as their life actually. Because that is the most important thing. Understanding the person behind the process. When we have that clarity, then no matter what happens or in which situation we've been kept, we understand how this is happening and why this is happening. This is because of Srila Prabhupada's selfless service. It is because of Srila Prabhupada's tireless year, hours of dedication. It's not only 2 hours. He gave this science. These small books are like bullets. They're so powerful, very potent. It's beautiful because the heart is invested. The Shiva James heart through this book. We need a person who can actually explain what Shiva really anchored through those books, what he really wanted to give. So that if the person, those personalities are very much connected to Shiva Prabhupada, and we also feel connected to Shiva Prabhupada. We also feel connected to those persons. Because through that connection only, Guru Nishta will come. Because through Guru Nishta only, all the problems are removed in one shot. When the problems are removed, then you are in the state of Nishta. Anartha Nivritti is completed. All the anarthas are removed. Then comes Nishta. Now, through that Nishta, what happens? When you chant through that Nishta, when you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, through that Nishta, then the progress comes. Because the relationship is intensified. But for that state, one should. Guru Nishta is a big word. It's not that easy to come. Should be very sincere for me. Hare Krishna. Is that okay, Amma? Rachana?
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, how to develop that Guru Nishtha? How to bring in our life?
Find a person who has Guru Nishta and serve that person. Naturally, you'll do it. Because that is the way. There's no other way to develop Guru Nishta. Guru Nishta is not there in the books. Guru Nishta is there in the person. You find that person, serve them nicely. When they bestow the mercy, they'll naturally bestow. Then we'll be able to take that mercy. Great. Correct. Is it okay, Amma?
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please continue to hear very nicely every day. You continue to take the association daily, then the mercy will come. Hearing process is very important. One thing we shouldn't neglect in our Krishna consciousness is hearing. If we neglect Krishna, if we neglect hearing in Krishna consciousness, everything is gone. Then one day we'll feel, oh, why should I chant? Oh, why should I do this? Oh, why should I eat Krishna Prasad? Oh, why should I go to temple? All these things will come. Why? Because our hearing is weakened. When we don't hear, that's the problem. But when we continue to hear, then everything will come. Never avoid hearing. No matter what, we are sick, we are nice, we are sick, doesn't matter. We hear. When we do that, it's the best thing. It's the best medicine for advancing in Krishna consciousness. Daily hearing. Then through that hearing inspiration, you will naturally chant. Because otherwise you'll not get inspiration to chant. I've seen so many devotees telling like that. I've seen so many devotees. They say through the process of hearing or chanting improve. So many devotees tell. It's very important. Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Is it okay, Amma? Rachna Amma?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yes, Deepali Amma, please start.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
How are you doing?
Dandavat Pranam to all the devotees. I'm good, Prabhuji. Thank you for
Hare
asking.
Krishna.
So my question was, thank you for a wonderful class. As you gave the example of mother and son, and that's from the material world we see. But many a times, at least with me, what happens is, as much as I hear and as much as I trying to juggle around both the worlds, material and spiritual, uh, like sometimes I feel that I lack compassion, uh, towards myself and others in material world, and that doesn't let me see the good around and take that good around to carry along in my spiritual journey. And in fact, it depletes my consciousness. And so, how to, when we are learning, relearning, or unlearning, how to like be aware of your spiritual identity and reflect that in your consciousness in the material world around us, so that you know uh, I mean, automatically it will reflect in my behavior when people around me should not feel that because I'm in Krishna consciousness, I'm being too like fanatic, or yeah, I or otherwise I will make myself and others feel low about position in material world.
The question is, we've been in this world, there's a material consciousness and spiritual consciousness. In the material world and spiritual world. When we practice Krishna consciousness, we feel through our material consciousness, we we don't feel compassionate to ourselves and also to the others around us. And when we see our natural state, and through that natural state, that I'm Amsha of Krishna, how can I cultivate that consciousness where I don't become kind of a fanatic because I'm in the material world? How do I be compassionate to the to others and not put them kind of down or not put myself down? How do I balance that? Is that what your question is?
Yes, Prabhu.
Your question, we'll discuss that in detail because this question has to be assessed. I don't want to give a 1 minute answer on this, but we'll discuss in detail. I'll, I'll tell a little synopsis on it. Amma, first thing and the foremost thing you need to understand, there's not two things here. There's either spiritual or material. Period. Now, through the swabhava or the nature of the jiva, which can stay in the both the realms. The jiva, through his choices, he tends to stay in the material realm. The jiva, through his choices, tends to stay in the spiritual realm. But when he is tending to stay in the spiritual realm, if the consciousness in the spiritual realm is deepened more and more, then that person will never come back to the material realm. If the consciousness in the spiritual realm is not deep, or he's not taking to the words just like the acharyas are telling, then what happens is he goes and then again comes back because he's not getting the juice or the happiness in that spiritual realm. So through that reason, what happens is he feels that he's forcing or dragging himself to the process. Please understand this. Because a person would only feel dragged because he's not experiencing the juice in that. Please understand. That's why he's thinking that 9 to 5 is material and for morning 4 to 7 is spiritual and evening 6 to 9 is spiritual. He's thinking like that. So those things will not help or understand him to come to a better state. Because due to that reason, the first question I should ask is, what is true joy? So I said, the mother child is also spiritual to our perception. Because we see the mother child also part of parcel. That's so when we see this material world, we learn lessons through that. So we use those lessons and we learn a lot of Krishna conscious principles through that also. It's a practical way. Because these practical things they will happen in our life. Mother, child, father, son. You see, we are connected to that only. Aren't we see that? Don't we see that? Don't we have a mother, have a father? I came to my father place, I came to my mother place. We live in Hyderabad. I came to their place. Our relationship with them, our connection with them. Through that relation, I'll see the connection with Krishna. Through that relation, I see the connection with my spiritual master. There is no doubt. Mother, father, they're all pertained to this particular life. But I have a connection with them. I have intimate give and take with them. I remember those things. I relish them. I was telling my other devotee colleague at our place that I'm grateful to my father because he took me to the temple when I was like 7 or 8 years old. He took me to a small ISKCON temple for the first time. I'm indebted to him now. Because I have some intimacy with him. I cannot forget that. That means anything else which he does, it's part of this only. It's not against or away from that. Please understand. So what am I trying to say is there's no two things here. There's only one. There's either material, which entire material world is thinking it's all material, or the second thing is the spiritual, which everyone is thinking. Everyone means whoever is following the words of the acharyas. Everything can be material, everything can be spiritual. No, not can be, it is spiritual, but through a perverted consciousness, it looks material. So we'll discuss this further. There's more to discuss on this. Hare Krishna, but I just gave a glimpse. Is it okay, Amma?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anyone else? Anyone else would like to add anything, like to share? Otherwise, in this
Hare Krishna
topic, any other
Prabhuji.
questions? Yes,
Yeah,
Subal
Prabhuji, that
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanatnam all goes to Sri Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your wonderful, especially I like this question and answer because most of the time, I might have the similar answer, but don't know how to ask also. Thank you, Prabhuji. And also, Prabhuji, I was thinking sometimes, we think that when being Krishna consciousness, maybe
Uh-huh.
some people think that we are fanatics, but
One second, Subal Prabhu.
yeah, yes, sorry, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu, please tell.
But actually, I think that being Krishna consciousness is more compassionate to others because when we are in Krishna consciousness, of course, we see everybody as yeah, because Krishna is in their heart, right? So
Uh-huh.
that's what I was thinking, Prabhuji. So I also had that similar question. So maybe yeah, next week or tomorrow or sometime you can enlighten us,
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Then
Thank you, Subal Prabhu. Subal Prabhu, I hope I addressed your answer, your question,
yes,
which
Prabhuji.
you asked. Correct. Anyone else? Baldev Prabhu, nice to see you.
Muझे don't pranam all Visheshwar Padu and you also.
Correct. Yes. Correct. Anyone else? Otherwise, we'll stop it here. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much. I'll stop here. If I caused an inconvenience, please excuse me. Thank you all very much. Shila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.